and welcome on back to another episode of Auburn Anonymous. I am Miles. SB, find me on X at Ashton Daniels AA. I'm joined today with my co-host, Mr. Michael SB. You can find him on X at Jackson Arnold AA. Been a busy several weeks here. It's been several weeks without a podcast episode for you guys, but that's about to change. Not only do we have this one, but we're going to start coming at you with weekly podcasts. We're very excited about it. And in case you missed it, we were just on the Way Offsides podcast live show over on YouTube just a few days ago and had a really fun time with that. Michael, how have you been lately?
Man, I've been good. I've been trying to get a podcast going, but obviously you moved into a new house, and so you've had to take care of all the things that you have to take care of with moving in a new house. And so it was exciting to get on that Way Offsides podcast again and just to get talking again about Auburn football. I think those guys were kind of shocked after speaking with us. I think they probably don't think that we're the 11-1 team that me and you think we are, but they at least think we're an 8-4 football team now.
If not better. I mean, he was like one of them, Chris, who, again, they're all great guys, really nice guys. I enjoyed getting to do it with them. Would love to hop on their show again with them sometime. But, he was trying to say we're losing to Arkansas, we're losing to Baylor. And it was kind of hard for us. You can see as he's talking about it to contain our laughter. It's just, yeah. I mean, come on. Like, let's be real. But speaking of the 11-1 Auburn Tigers, a lot of people say that you and I just make stuff up. We just say, we think Auburn's going to go 11-1, and we don't actually believe it. So to prove the haters wrong, we just figured today we would walk down game by game of Auburn's schedule and explain why Auburn's going to be 11-1 and has a real shot at all 12 games they play this season. Does that sound like a good idea to you, Mike?
Yeah, and I think each game we should give a 1 to 10 confidence rating on how we feel about it.
Okay. Well, there's no time like the present. Oh, you have something you want to say?
Real quick, I just thought since we haven't been on the podcast in a while, there hasn't been too much Auburn news. Everyone knows recruiting has been pretty slow right now. It's been a big topic of discussion with many of Auburn fans. But I did want to bring up the good news. One, we just got one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, 4-star, 6'5" quarterback out of Pennsylvania, Peyton Falzone, who is from Pennsylvania and flipped from Penn State. I got to think development had to be the only factor with his decision. Wouldn't you say the same?
Yeah, I mean, James Franklin isn't known for, really flipping around quarterbacks. They had Sean Clifford. I think he was highly recruited, and he was fine, but he was not NFL good. And then you had the same thing with Drew Aller. He was very highly recruited, and he's been fine, but he's, they thought he was going to be a guy who'd be in the NFL by now, and he hasn't been that good. So why would he want to come play for anyone else other than Hugh Freeze? I mean, he's been great at developing quarterbacks. If you look over at Caden Salter at Liberty, Malik Willis, then at Ole Miss, of course, he had Swag Kelly. He's got a tradition of, not only having the best wide receivers in college football, but also doing a great job developing quarterbacks as well.
Yeah, and I think with the fact that Auburn got Deuce Knight last year, I don't think their main concern was bringing in a quarterback for this class. And so I think if Auburn really wanted to get, as we said, Jared Curtis, who's the number 1 overall quarterback in the country, if they wanted to get involved with the NIL there, I think they probably could have landed him, even with Landon Duckworth, who's a top 5 quarterback from Alabama, looking like he's about to commit to South Carolina. I think we could have probably pulled him in too. I just don't think the staff was, I just don't think the staff thought he was worth the money, to be honest with you. He was over at the Elite 11 and threw 2 interceptions in their 7-on-7, and just not too impressive as far as his accuracy when it comes to throwing the football. And so I think the staff, I think they found the guy they wanted, which was Peyton Falzone. We talked about him a few months ago. And, I think he has all the potential in the world to be an NFL quarterback one day, and he's a guy who's going to be willing to sit behind Deuce Knight for a season or two and develop, which is important. We don't want a guy who's going to come in thinking he's going to start right away when we have Deuce Knight and, then he transfers. And so I think the staff made the right decision bringing in Peyton Falzone. And, I couldn't be more excited. And the only other thing I have about recruiting is that, I think we're ranked like 70-something right now. I see a lot of Auburn fans panicking. And me and you, as we said on the Way Off Sides podcast, seem to be the only two guys who aren't panicking. I can almost guarantee you that we're going to end up with at least a top 15 class, maybe even a top 10 class. One, Hugh Freeze, he's known for flipping guys. This is a real statistic. He has flipped more commitments in the past 3 seasons than any other coach in college football. So one, you got the coach that has flipped more recruits than any coach in the nation. And two, it's just we're not promising money to people right now that we can't owe them. And with all these revenue share changes, and there's supposed to be a lot of changes that will be coming in the fall. A lot of these schools are offering guys money they're not going to be able to pay them because it won't even be legal to pay them. And so our staff is banking on the fact that, hey, some of these recruits are committed to the school. They're eventually going to get to the point where the school's like, yeah, sorry, we can't pay you this. And they're going to get mad, and a bunch of guys are going to flip. I'm expecting more guys in November and December to flip than ever before. I don't think that's too shocking. I think as long as we have a good season, which me and you both think we will, we're going to end up with one of the best recruiting classes in America. And one more thing, even if we end up with like number 15 class, like the 2 lowest teams in the SEC right now as far as recruiting goes are Auburn and Missouri. Those are also the top 2 teams in the transfer portal from this offseason. So it doesn't surprise me that they probably are just choosing to build their rosters a different way. Hugh Freeze knows he has to win now. At first he wanted to build through high school, but now his job's on the line. And so I truly think the portal's gotten probably more important to him than high school.
For this one year.
Yeah, at least for this past year. I mean, we spent a lot of money. We got the number 1 offensive tackle in the portal. We got the number 1 wide receiver in the portal. We got debatably the number 1 quarterback in the portal. They spent a lot.
Debatably the best portal class. I mean, debatably.
Yeah, and we spent a lot of money to do that. So it's not like we have all these money loaded for 2026 high school kids. We also just spent a lot of money on our 2025, 2024, and the NIL collective spent a lot of money on this basketball roster they just put together. And so I would just tell everyone to be patient with it. Don't worry about it too much. Even if it is like the number 15 class, expect them to reload in the portal again.
Yeah. The only thing I have to add there is, some people saw a thing I posted on TikTok and Twitter earlier this week where I acted upset about where we stand in the recruiting rankings, and I revealed I don't care. I mean, where we are. And people took that out of context. Yes, I care about recruiting. No, I don't care whatsoever what our ranking is in June of 2025 for the 2026 class. I just don't care. Because as you kind of briefly hit on there is, in this age of NIL, there's not a chance that we end outside of the top 25 in recruiting. Because we have that money. And really, money is the name of the game right now. Whereas 5+ years ago, it's actually possible if their coach doesn't recruit that, Brian Harsin, that you're going to end up really far out of the standings, or out of the recruiting standings, excuse me. But now, when you have a coach who actually tries to recruit and you have the money to go and compete, you're not going to end up outside of, we might not be a top 10 recruiting class, but we're certainly going to be a top 25 class and almost certainly a top 15 class. So I'm not worried about it whatsoever. I get that there are other Auburn podcasters, unlike you and I. This is a side thing we do. We have other jobs, but there's other Auburn content creators that it's their full-time gig. So when stuff happens, they have to make content off of it. And so this time of the year is kind of a dead period, so they're going to overreact to some recruiting news that they really know isn't that big of a deal. So we'll tell you straight up, it really doesn't. Recruiting matters. Full context, recruiting matters, but the recruiting rankings in June, when the National Signing Day is half a year away, it don't matter one bit whatsoever.
Yeah, I used to pay attention to recruiting a little bit more, probably 5 years ago. But now these days, most of these guys are probably going to transfer. Half the guys are going to flip to another school, and it's not worth it to really keep up with until maybe about a month or two before signing day, and that's when things really get interesting, in my opinion.
That's fair. Well, hey, are you ready to dig into this Auburn football schedule and give our thoughts on it?
Let's do this. I mean, I know a lot of people have heard us say we both have Auburn going 11-1, and the story goes is that I sent Miles my prediction for every single SEC school for this upcoming season. And while Miles hasn't read all my predictions for all the other schools yet, he went to the Auburn one, read it first, and he's like, "Wow, I have the same exact schedule." And both of us have Auburn going 11-1 this season. And some people think we're biased. I really don't think that's a biased take. I think that's a hot take. I don't think I came at this with any bias though. And so we're going to go through the schedule one by one, all 12 games, and let you know why we think we're an 11-1 football team.
And the funny thing, one other thing I got to add before this is we're going to send receipts because you sent me that schedule, and then I, with a couple of coworkers at work, I filled out the schedule next to theirs. So you can see we have the receipts of where I put this as my schedule, and you put it as yours. So we'll put it out there, and people will see that we're not making this up. But the other coworkers did not have that filled it out didn't have Auburn doing as well. But they're wrong. We're right. So let's get into it. Auburn. You and I, by the way, making this road trip out to Waco, Texas. Opening the season on Friday night. A top 25 matchup, I would imagine, against the Baylor Bears. I know who you have winning, but tell me why and what's your confidence level?
Yeah, this one's a little bit scary because this one kind of sets the tone for the whole season. If Auburn wins, they're going to have more confidence than almost any team in the country. They're going to pick up a top 25 road win week 1. And I think it would be very beneficial for the rest of the season for us to win this game. If we lose, our season's not over, especially in this day. We can afford to lose one more game and still easily make the playoffs. But if we do lose, with the SEC schedule we do have, it's not looking very promising for us. But this matchup's pretty simple. Baylor they did bring a lot back on offense, and their quarterback, Sawyer Robinson, is probably a top 25 college football quarterback, maybe even top 15. I might be pushing it. But Baylor, I'm pretty sure they won 6 of their last 7 games, the one loss being to LSU, an SEC team. And, with Baylor, they're going to have a decent offense. Their only problem is their defense is one of the worst in Power 4. And I think it'll be a great game for Jackson Arnold and Cam Coleman and Singleton and Perry Thompson, all the guys to build some chemistry with. I think Auburn goes into Baylor and puts up over 40 points. And I think Auburn wins that by, I'll say 14 or so. But I would give that an 8 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10 confidence.
Okay, yeah, I feel very similarly about the game. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, maybe a 42-28 type game. Auburn wins, of course. As you alluded to, really not much more to add to it. Baylor's got a couple really good wide receivers, a couple really good running backs, a really good quarterback. Offensive line's okay. But their issue's going to come on defense. And as excited as I am for Auburn's receiving cores, and I could see some of the guys having a big game against that secondary of theirs, I think we're going to run wild on them. I think our O-line is just going to overpower their D-line, and it's also they're a team that kind of likes to play a little faster pace and throw the ball around as well. So if we can kind of get out there and run the ball right down their throats, chew up clock, and wear them down, keep their potent offense off the field, that's the perfect strategy, and we're going to be able to do that flawlessly. So I expect a big rushing game from Jeremiah Cobb, Damari Alston, might even see a little bit of Darrell Robinson, and maybe Alvin Henderson. We'll see, and that'll set up the passing game as well. So I think we'll dominate offensively against Baylor. We win. I give it. I'm a little less confident than you. I'll go with 7 out of 10. Again, as you said, though, we're going to know week 1 whether or not we were right about us having a playoff caliber team. We'll know real quick.
Yeah, I think you're right about the running game, and I just wanted to add that I think this running back room is very stacked with the depth it has, with the Alvin Henderson, Darrell Robinson, Jeremiah Cobb, and Damari also. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them breaks out as one of the best running backs in college football this year, or at least in the SEC. I think it'll be Damari Alston personally.
I can see it. You're a little higher on Alston. I'm a little higher on Cobb, but I think realistically I can see either of those guys breaking out. Moving on to the next game. We won't have to talk about it too long, I don't think. Ball State at home.
Yeah. All I know about Ball State is, I'll be honest, I didn't do my research here. I just saw
You don't
Ball
need to.
State and counted win. But then I talked to you and you gave me your analysis on Ball State, and so I'll let you take this one. But a 10 out of 10 confidence for me.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 confidence on this being a win. Again, I don't have a ton on Ball State. They're one of the worst. And I read up on them in the Lindy's football magazine. They're one of the worst teams in college football. I mean, not surprising. The MAC is the worst conference in college football, so the teams in it, they're going to be the worst. But they're towards the back of the MAC this year. I mean, they're not very good. I think they only returned 4 starters, only 1 on offense, 3 on defense. It's going to be ugly. We'll win this one as badly as we want, and in the second half, you'll see a lot of Ashton Daniels, maybe some Deuce Knight. You'll see the young guys in the second half. So Auburn big over Ball State. And similarly, I'll go and kick off South Alabama as well. I mean, South Alabama is going to be better than Ball State, but it's a 10 out of 10 confidence win for me as well. They lost their quarterback, Gio Lopez, went over to Mac Brown, I believe, at UNC. Their top running back, I believe, went to Mississippi State. That's just a thing. Unfortunately for them, they were a pretty solid group of 6 team last year, and when you're a pretty solid group of 6 team, your best players are going to go elsewhere. So, they'll be a little better than Ball State, but it won't be a problem for Auburn.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Gio Lopez was one of those guys who, in the fall, in the winter, he did enter the portal and said he's going to stay loyal to his FBS school, and obviously spring portal came around and North Carolina needed himself a quarterback, and they offered him a big deal, and he went back on that word, and I don't blame him. Got himself a $1 million deal over at North Carolina. He was one of the best freshman quarterbacks in the country last year, and so that was devastating for South Alabama. They have no chance of being able to. They had a New Mexico State fighting chance to beat us, and now that's gone. That's an automatic win for Auburn. Another 10 out of 10 win. So 3-0 right now.
3-0. Okay, this is to me where it gets a little tricky. But if you and I feel about this next team if the way we feel about it ends up being reality, it'll be cake. At Oklahoma, they are one of the most. You see a lot of variance. You see some people who think they're going to be a playoff team. You see some people think that they're far from it. What do you think?
Yeah, so I have another. I'll put Auburn at 7.5 out of 10 again. I think they're a similar team to Baylor as far as skill wise. So a lot of people are high on Oklahoma, and I just don't get it. It's like one of those things where back in school where everyone wanted to be friends with the popular kid, and so everyone thought since it was the cool thing to be friends with the popular kid, everyone wanted to be his friend. So I feel the same way about Oklahoma with John Mateer. Everyone thinks he is this number 1 transfer portal quarterback, that he's going to be a Heisman contender, top 5 SEC quarterback. And I'm like, have any of you guys ever even watched this guy play? I truly don't think they have. Maybe some highlights. No one was watching Washington State last year. This guy, he played at Washington State, which is equivalent to playing at a Mountain West school. I think people here at Washington State act like he did all this good versus.
They think he's Cam Ward. They think he's Cam Ward 2.0, and he sucks at the end of the day. I mean, he's compared to other SEC quarterbacks, he's trash.
Exactly, that's another thing. Cam Ward went to the school and transferred and was good. Well, Cam Ward played against Pac-12 competition. This guy was playing Mountain West competition, and he was pretty good. No one heard of him until he entered the transfer portal, though. And so I don't really understand why everyone's hyping this guy up so much. I don't think he's that. I think he's about equivalent to what Tennessee got Joey Aguilar from Appalachian State. I don't think he's that much better than him. And so my confidence here is not necessarily on Auburn. Going to play at Norman's going to be tough because that is a tough environment to win in. But Tennessee did it last year, and I think Auburn does it this year pretty easily. Another thing about this Oklahoma roster, people make a big deal about this Jaden Ott running back who we've played the last 2 years. We completely shut him down 2 years ago with a not so great defense. And then this past year, he had like one good run versus us, but I mean, he didn't do that much besides one run. I mean, and again, our defense has much improved from last year as well. The offensive line is still bad. It's still one of the worst in the SEC. The receiving room, they'll be improved because they were playing most of the season without their best 5 wide receivers, but it's still not a great wide receiver room. Their best wide receiver is still transferred. I'm not huge on this Oklahoma team, and I don't see why many people are. I have Oklahoma going 4-8 next season, and Brent Venables to be fired. So that tells you what I think about Oklahoma. I say 7.5 just because it's in Norman, and that's going to be one of the harder environments for us to win in all season. But yeah, give me Auburn by 10 points here.
Okay. I'll just kind of echo some of the same things as you. John Mateer, really not that good of a quarterback. I mean, I don't think he's awful, but again, people treating him like he's, I don't know. Like they treating him like he's Cam Ward. I mean, I'm just like, no, not even close. I would rather have Jackson Arnold than John Mateer. We never wanted him out of the portal. We were the whole time calling for Jackson Arnold. Was the guy we wanted. We liked Malik Murphy too, but Arnold was our number one guy. But as you said, I mean, Oklahoma, I don't know if you hit on this, you may have. I missed it. They have a pretty good defense. Like, I do respect their defense, but their offense, I don't have much respect for. Ott is a good running back, but he's not Reggie Bush, which they try to act like he is. And Mateer's, he's fine. He's probably slightly below average when it comes to SEC quarterbacks. Offensive line's horrible. Wide receiver room's probably better than we remember, because, again, as you said, all those walk-ons were playing for our last year, but I think they are a team with a lot of volatility, because if Mateer comes and he actually is as good as some people think he could be, and Ott really does start playing like Reggie Bush, they have a pretty good defense, a wide receiver or two steps up, they're a pretty good team at that point. So that I say all that to say I'm not quite as confident here. I'm going to say Auburn wins, but I'm only giving it a 5. But again, after we beat Baylor in week 1 and after we watch Oklahoma the first couple weeks, I'm sure that confidence rating will probably go up. But just because of that volatility there, I'm only going to give it a 5, which brings us to our next game at Texas A&M. This is our one loss.
Yeah, so me and you, I've been to 15 of the 16 SEC stadiums. I know you've been to 14. And Texas A&M, when I went there, I don't even think they had that part of the end zone that they've built. When I went, like one of the end zones was like completely blank, and that was still one of the loudest environments I've ever been in. Of course, they had Johnny Manziel, and Auburn was very good that year. We had Nick Marshall, the 2013 season, when I went, and but still, Texas A&M is easily a top 5 environment in all of college football, in my opinion. That place gets really loud. It's going to be a hard place to go in and win. Auburn has already done it 3 times since they've joined the SEC, so it is possible. And it wouldn't shock me if Auburn did come in and beat Texas A&M. I just think Texas A&M is a pretty good football team this year. I'm a big fan of Marcel Reed. I think he's got to improve this year. If he plays like he did last year, I watched a lot of Marcel Reed, and his one problem was that he seems to, when he snaps the ball, he seems to look at the wide receiver he's going to throw to immediately, and if he's not open, he just runs. But they've added Casey Concepcion, the number 2 transfer portal wide receiver. They added I forget his name, from Kentucky out of the portal. They bring back Terry Bussey, who was a 5-star just a couple of seasons ago. Their wide receiver room is stacked. The running back room is stacked. Their offensive line is stacked, and the defense will be improved from last year. And not a lot of people are talking about Texas A&M, but when I see SEC experts go into their schedule, they always give them a good record. Texas A&M is going to be one of the best teams in college football this season, in my opinion.
I actually agree. It kind of shocked me to see how low they were rated in the Lindy's magazine. They had Auburn rated higher than them, which of course I think Auburn's better than A&M, but I know that they're not. I know that no one else thinks Auburn's as good as you and I think it. So I was kind of shocked that they didn't have A&M higher. As you mentioned, they have a really good O-line. They bring a lot back. Marcel Reed was a pretty good player last year. Like, he wasn't great, but he was a pretty good player. The reason I had Auburn losing this, really, it wasn't this deep, in-depth analysis. It was really as simple as this. Look, the odds are Auburn's probably going to lose a game, maybe 2 this football season. So I look at what games are the most likely ones to lose. Well, and the SEC road games, right? That sticks out to me. Road games. Another thing that sticks out to me is not many teams in the SEC have Auburn circled on their schedule in recent history. I mean, I guess you could say Alabama and Georgia just because we're kind of rivals, but we haven't been a top-tier team in several years. So, I feel like we're a team, we kind of look at Missouri or Arkansas on our schedule, and we're like, that's fine. We're not worried about them. I hate to say it, but I feel like that's how most teams look at us, except for A&M. The way we beat them last year, we're circled on their schedule. And not only that, we stormed the field on them. How many teams stormed the field after beating Texas A&M? We might be the only one that's ever done that before. They haven't traditionally been a power. They're not used to that. And we beat them in a heartbreaking 4-overtime win, and we stormed the field. So I just guarantee you they have our game circled on their calendar. They get us at home. As you mentioned, their environment's great. They got a pretty good team. Yeah, I'm willing to concede Auburn. I think Auburn loses this football game. But on to games that we don't think Auburn's going to lose. Next, we play Georgia. How you feeling about that one, Michael?
Man, in the past I would have said we have no chance, but just looking at this game, to be completely honest, I don't think Georgia is a better football team than Auburn. And I know that might be crazy to say, but if you really go down their roster one by one and you compare them to Auburn's roster one by one, we beat them at many positions. One, you start off with quarterback, the most important position. Gunnar Stockton. He's played a couple of games now as a starter, of course against really good defenses, but hasn't looked too impressive. Gunnar Stockton's just kind of like Ty Simpson. We don't really know what we're going to get out of them this year, but they've been on the bench for a very long time, and that's concerning in my opinion. So I think Georgia, they don't have a good quarterback. Their wide receiver room last year, they complained a lot about it. I don't think it was that bad last year, and I don't think they improved that much in the offseason. A lot of people think they have. One, they brought in Zachariah Branch from USC. He's one of those guys. He's one of the fastest players in college football. But what did he do at USC last year? Not that much. And people really like to hype this guy up just because he's fun to play with on the college football game. But is he really a good football player? Yes, he's pretty good, but is he going to be a dominant college football player? No. And this is the guy they're banking on to carry them next season, the wide receiver room. They also brought in that guy from Texas A&M. I forget his name.
Noah Thomas?
Yeah, Noah Thomas. I mean, he's like 6'5", I think. He's a big receiver, but another guy, what were his stats? Like, they weren't bad, but they weren't like, hey, this guy's an obvious NFL football player. And so I don't think Georgia's wide receiver room is as good as normal. And, yeah, they have a good offensive line. I think Auburn's is better. Their defense is going to be pretty good. It's going to be one of the best defenses in college football this year. But at the same time, as I've said on the Way Off Sides podcast, the problem with Georgia is in the past few years, Georgia had a great starters and great backups. Now they just have great starters. And their backups are a lot of true freshmen. And so they just don't have the type of depth that they have had in the past. I think they're going to miss Carson Beck a lot this season. And I think Auburn's a better football team. And we're going to have this game at home. Auburn has this game circle on the schedule. I don't think Auburn just wins this game. Auburn's going to win big. Give me Auburn by 17.
I like it. I'm oddly confident in this one, too. I guess just great minds think alike. This is definitely one, going back to what I said earlier, this is a game we have circled on our schedule. How many times in a row has Georgia beaten us? It feels like they've won the last 30 times we played on it, and I'm sick and tired of losing to these guys. And that's changing this year. As you mentioned, Georgia's probably good at every position, but they lost a lot, man. They only returned one player from the offensive line, one starter. They got Gunnar Stockton. Did he impress anyone when he played? And in the playoff last year, he didn't impress me. Again, the defense, I'm sure they're good, but they only returned 3 starters on their defense. I mean, I get it's Georgia. I'm sure they had, as you said, they had great backups last year, and I'm sure that the players they have out there are going to be talented. But I'm going to look at their schedule real quick. No, okay, never mind. They play at Tennessee before us. I was going to say, if we were their first road game of the year, that would be more evidence, more reason to pick us. But I'm going with us anyway. Anyways, I don't think that this is as good as your typical Kirby Smart Georgia Bulldog team. I think this is kind of more like his first year team that he had that went 7-5. I think Auburn wins. Auburn wins big, maybe by 3 touchdowns or so. Big win at home. And then also one other thing I got to mention as well. Kirby Smart said it himself that it doesn't matter whenever you go to Auburn, it's one of the hardest places on earth to play a football game. That's what he said, one of the toughest places on earth to play a football game. And he said it didn't matter Doesn't matter what Auburn's record's going to be. When you go to that game, you better come laced up and strap them up because it's going to be a war.
He knows that from those Bama teams he was on because we haven't beaten him too much at Georgia. I think it's 27.
But we've hung with him when we've had much worse records, and he knows that. And this year, unfortunately for him, we're going to have a pretty good record going into that game.
I mean, and that's what I was telling the guys on that Way Off Sides podcast. If you look at Auburn's team last year, we really were very close to being a 9-3 football team, 8-4 team, and we did get blown out really by anybody. I mean, we may have lost to Georgia, maybe 31-14 or maybe 31-21. I can't exactly remember, but we didn't get absolutely blown out by anyone. And this roster Auburn has is 10 times better than the team we had last year. The only guy we are really going to be missing is Jarquez Hunter, and probably, well, we really won't be missing Keandre Lambert-Smith, to be honest. He was a great wide receiver, but our wide receiver room is so much better than last year. I don't think we're going to be really missing him. But, yeah, man, give me Auburn here. I'll throw it just because it's Georgia, I'm going to be respectful and say 7 out of 10 confidence, but I think we win big.
I'm going to give us a 9 out of 10 confidence to beat Georgia. Well, no, I'm going to give it 8. I'm going to back it up to 8. 8 out of 10 confidence. I'm really confident. I think we'll beat Georgia this year. Next up, we have Missouri. Could be a sneaky little game. What you thinking, Michael?
Missouri's one of those teams that they're kind of like Auburn in the eyes of most SEC experts, that they have a very wide range. That they could be one of the better teams in the SEC, or they could be one of the worst teams in the SEC. I think Missouri will be somewhere in the middle. As I said, they were up there with Auburn with the top 2 transfer portal class. And I think the transfer portal is probably the best way to build a roster in this day and era. Just with all the rules right now, you might as well. Ole Miss has been very successful with it. They're the ones who've been really pushing it the past couple of years, and Auburn and Missouri ended up with 1 and 2 this year. Missouri's only problem is that at least Auburn's banking on Jackson Arnold, who's got over a year of SEC football experience, whereas Bo Prabula has never played a game in his life. He's had a few snaps for Bowling Green and stuff like that, but this guy he might get it figured out, but I think it's going to be too late before he does. Going to Auburn and trying to win as a quarterback who will only have started 6 college football games in his whole life, I just don't see that being successful. You saw Marcel Reed try to do that in his 6th or 7th start last year. It's a lot easier said than done. I think Auburn's just a better roster. I do think they have a good roster. I just think it's going to take them a little bit to figure it out. Maybe by bowl game season, you're going to look at this team and be, wow, this is a good football team. But I just don't see them being able to compete with Auburn and Jordan-Hare. Hopefully this is the night game. I'm not sure if they've picked a time for this. But, yeah, give me Auburn by 14 here, maybe 10, but I'll give Auburn a higher confidence. I have an 8.5 out of 10 confidence on this game. And one more thing, since I forgot to say it, that Auburn-Georgia game, it's going to be a night game.
Oh, yep, that's going to be brutal. Yeah, I think Missouri's going to be tricky. Is that a night game or no? I assume not.
I'm not sure, to be completely honest with you.
Fair enough. It kind of depends. Again, a lot of volatility here, kind of like with Ole Miss. Like if Prabula turns out to be really good, well, that could be a force. But I'm not super high on their offense. They don't return a lot. We'll see what the portal was able to patch up for them, because I know that they focused on that a lot. I think you said it earlier. They're one of the top portal teams. They return a lot on defense, so I think their defense is going to be pretty good. But at the end of the day, Missouri is just the perpetual middle-of-the-pack SEC team, and that's where they're going to be. And Auburn's going to win at home against average to slightly above average SEC teams. So Auburn's going to win that game, and I give it an 8 out of 10 confidence, I think. About the same as Georgia.
And just to catch us up a little bit, Auburn versus Baylor is a 7 o'clock start. Auburn versus Ball State is a 6:30 start. Auburn versus South Alabama is an 11:45 a.m. start. Auburn versus Oklahoma will most likely be a night game. It's a flex, so either midday or night game, and Auburn, Oklahoma is easily the best game of that day. Auburn, Texas A&M is going to be a 3:30 game or 2:30 game. And you got Georgia versus Alabama. Auburn versus Georgia is a night game. And so Auburn versus Missouri is either going to be a 3 to 4:30 start or a night game. So hopefully we'll get the night slot. I'm not sure what other teams are playing that day, but either way, not good for Missouri that it's not a noon game.
Yeah, I would concur. Next up, I'll take the lead on this one at Arkansas. Our guy Chris at Way Offsides thought that we have a very poor chance at winning this game, and that's silly. I don't care how good their offensive line is. I don't care if they have the best offensive line in college football, which of course they don't. Ours is better. We're winning that game. I can't tell you the last time. When is the last time Auburn's lost at Arkansas? The last time that comes to my head is 2015.
I was thinking Ryan Mallett, maybe Darren McFadden days, one of the two.
Well, yeah, definitely more recent than that because we lost in 2015 with Jeremy Johnson. We had Jeremy Johnson and Sean White. But, other than that, it might be the Ryan Mallett. We just don't lose at Arkansas. And I get that that's a lazy reason but to say. But so there's more reason than that. I am not a fan of their quarterback. He's very – Talon Green, I believe is his name. I'm maybe butchering the last name. But it's Talon something. He's very athletic. He's got a cannon of an arm, but he's very turnover prone. It's also one of those games that I felt like Auburn should have won last year. So it's going to be kind of circled on our schedule. Like, okay, we want to get these guys back, and we're a better team. We're more talented. We have a far better coach. I mean, Sam Pittman is, he's toast. He might be as toast as Brent Venables at the end of this season. I have Auburn big. It is on the road, so I'm not going to give it quite an 8. I'll give it a 7 because it's an SEC game on the road. If it was at home, it might be a 9.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Arkansas is one of the worst teams in the SEC, if not the worst. I think I have Kentucky lower than them, and I think I have Arkansas at 15. Arkansas, Talon Green's okay. I think he's maybe a middle lower of the pack SEC quarterback, probably the fastest quarterback in the SEC. But they lost everything. Any guy who was relevant to their team on offense transferred or went to got a job at a steel factory. I was about to say NFL, but I don't think any of their guys were NFL caliber last year. And so, this team is not very good. Auburn wins in Arkansas big. I'll give Auburn an 8.5 out of 10 confidence here. I really wanted to put it at 9 or 10, but just because it's at Arkansas, it is a road game. So I'll do 8.5 out of 10. I think that's an easy victory. One we should, expect to win.
For sure. And speaking of SEC games we should expect to win, next we get Kentucky at home. What you think? I have my thoughts.
Yeah, I just said Kentucky's the worst team in the SEC. Give me Auburn by 30 plus here. I'm not a huge believer in Zach Calzada, and don't think too many people are. He had a little bit of success at the FCS level last year, but they had 2 NFL receivers, and Auburn beat this team last year. And the way we were with Peyton Thorne, and their best players from that team transferred. I'm not very confident. They did bring in Kendrick Law from Alabama, but that guy didn't do too much at Alabama either. He is very athletic. I know he's very fast. I saw a Snapchat where Zach Calzada was messaging someone talking about how good Kendrick Law was. And I'm just I'm sure he was great compared to the FCS guys you were playing with. But, yeah, I'm sorry. This is going to be an ugly one. This is going to be an ugly season for Kentucky. I think Mark Stoops, his time at Kentucky is probably coming to an end here. I think Auburn plays at least 3 coaches that are going to get fired this season. As I was telling those guys the other day, I think Auburn has a pretty favorable schedule for once, probably in my whole lifetime with the SEC. I think we're getting a lot of easier teams in the SEC this year that are on the bottom of the pack, and I think the hard ones we do get, we're getting them at home.
Yeah. This one is – I kind of lump this in there with the same category as South Alabama. I think it's going to be about as difficult. It's kind of funny, but I'm not saying that the troll or anything. I think Calzada might be a little better than we remember him. Let's remember he did beat us once at Texas A&M, to give a little credit. But I don't think you and I or anyone's losing sleep at night over Zach Calzada, especially with the weapons there outside of Kendrick Law. They don't return a whole lot. I think – Stoops has been good there. Mark Stoops has been good there, but he's a dead man walking. And, we blow him out. Whatever we do to South Alabama, we should be able to do to them as well.
Especially in the NIL day, all the Kentucky donors, they only care about basketball, and they have the most expensive basketball roster for this upcoming season. I'm not saying
And I had to say real fast, they had you said they had the most expensive basketball roster, or they only care. The boosters at Kentucky only care about basketball. Well, how's that working out for you, Kentucky? How's that working out for you? We beat you at that too. We're better. We're even better than you at basketball. So I'm sorry, I had to quickly say that.
That's just a coaching thing. Which to be props. It's hard to find a coach as good as Bruce Pearl every offseason, but they could have at least tried to get Steven.
Yeah, that is. There you go, after Stephen Pearl. That'd be a good move. Next up, we play at Vanderbilt. That's a fun one.
Yeah, this is another team. Me and you have talked about this. Kind of like Jean Petier, a lot of people have been hyping up Diego Pavia. I was watching, I think it was the J-Boy show, and they had him as a top five SEC quarterback. Diego Pavia, I'm telling you right now, he's nowhere near a top 5 SEC quarterback. He's not very good. If you even look at the games, most of the games Vanderbilt won, he didn't put up like crazy stats or anything like that. I'm telling you guys, Vanderbilt had a fluke season last season. Let's be completely honest. They got one of the worst Alabama teams we've seen in years, beat them. Alabama ended up losing 4 games and ended up not being as good as everyone thought. They beat Auburn. We were terrible last year. I think Vanderbilt. I'll say this. I think they might be 6. I forget what I predicted for them. I think they'll be 5-7, 6-6 range. I think they'll beat most of their out of conference opponents. But man, I'm not a believer in Diego Pavia, nor am I a believer in their coach. So, yeah, give me Auburn here by 24. I think I have a 9 out of 10 confidence for this game. I think, kind of like you just said, lump this in there with Kentucky and South Alabama.
I have a message. For the very few Vanderbilt Commodore fans out there. 4-8 at best this season. 4-8 at best. That's your best case scenario. Just look at last year, right? They got lucky to beat Virginia Tech. They beat Auburn fair and square, but we were awful. They got lucky to beat Alabama. They're not beating Auburn and Alabama again. I don't think they're beating Virginia Tech this year. They play them again on the road. Look at their schedule. You find me more than 4 wins. I guess you did on your schedule, but I don't see anything more than 4 wins. Diego Pavia is a horrible quarterback. He is. Did you know that last year he threw for 500 less yards than Peyton Thorne? People treat him like he's a Heisman candidate. He's awful.
Yeah, I didn't want to put it that way, but since you're doing it, yeah, he's not a good quarterback. He beat Auburn. Yeah, he beat Alabama. He didn't beat Auburn, and he didn't beat Alabama. They had a very good defense last year, and I will give it Eli Stowers is one of the better tight ends in college football. I just wanted to say my 5 wins. I have Vanderbilt at 5-7. Looking at it.
Okay, I want to hear your 5. Okay, I want to hear your 5.
Charleston Southern.
Okay, I agree.
Georgia State.
Okay, I agree.
Utah State.
Agreed.
Kentucky.
Okay, 4. That's the 4 right there.
And I got one upset pick for them. Give me the Vanderbilt Commodores to beat Tennessee.
Okay,
That's an upset pick. So I have them at 5-7 with acknowledging that I don't probably truly believe that Vanderbilt's going to beat Tennessee, but I threw it in for my predictions.
And I'll just say this: they're going to beat Charleston Southern. There's no guarantee that they're beating Kentucky. There's no guarantee. I don't know anything about Utah State or Georgia State. I'm not going to act like I do. But if one of those are one of the better teams in their respective conferences, there's no guarantee that Vanderbilt beats both of them. So 4-8 at best for Vanderbilt this year. They do return a decent amount on defense, but here's the dirty little secret, and you and I have already said it, but I just want to reiterate. They were not a good football team last year. Vanderbilt was not a good team last year. Again, they got lucky to beat Auburn and Alabama and Virginia Tech. They really were a 3-9, 4-8 type team last year. They caught some lucky breaks, and some teams didn't take them seriously, and that's what happens. I will give Pavia this. While he's not a good quarterback, he doesn't turn the ball over. So that's check one. He does that. But he does that at the expense of not moving the ball down the field very much. He went 9 for 22 against Auburn last year throwing. They didn't win at Auburn because of Pavia. They won in spite of him.
And they make a big deal about what he did against Georgia Tech in the bowl game too. Half of Georgia Tech's team already had opted out / transferred when they played that bowl game. Georgia Tech was a completely depleted defense when they played them. Mm-hmm. It would have been easy for any offense to do that against that Georgia Tech team. I think when Oklahoma and Vanderbilt have bad years this year, you're going to hear all these SEC guys, "Oh my gosh, what a surprise!" And me and you are going to have these clips ready to go from back in the summer.
Yep, we are. And here's one other question I want to ask, and I mean this partially joking, but I'm serious. Why does when Auburn goes to the Birmingham Bowl, everyone makes fun of it? When Vanderbilt goes and wins at the Birmingham Bowl, everyone hypes them up the next season. I don't get it. I mean, look, if every time Auburn made the Birmingham Bowl, they got hyped up the following season, we'd be doing way better right now. I can tell you that much. But we'll finally move on from our hating Vanderbilt fest. We're gonna win that game big. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10 confidence. Next up, I'm gonna give. I know nothing about Mercer other than the fact that they're located in Macon, Georgia. They're the Bears and they're orange. We're beating them 12 out of 10 confidence.
Yeah, we play Mercer 100 times next season, back-to-back days. We beat them all 100 times. FCS team, that's all I really know. I think they were actually a decent FCS team last year. I'll say that. I'm pretty sure that they were that they may have even made the playoffs, but who cares? They're not beating Auburn.
I agree. So that leaves us with the Iron Bowl. You want to take that one first, or do you want me to?
Yeah, a lot of people think that I'm going to sit here, like I always do, and trash Alabama. I think Alabama's a decent football team next year. I don't think they're a great football team. I think they're a good football team. I think they're probably upper middle pack after doing a little bit more research. I think the only problem with Alabama is they have a very unfavorable schedule, in my opinion. You got to play at Auburn. You got to play at South Carolina, who some people think are going to be good, some people don't. But I think South Carolina's a playoff football team. You got they got to play LSU at home, and they have to play at UGA. I just don't see a scenario where they even go at best they go 2-2 in those games. I really don't even see it. I think they're losing all 4. I think Alabama goes 8-4 next season, and I think Auburn wins this game. I don't think Auburn wants this game to be one of those Iron Bowls that goes down to the wire. I think we're going to send a message to this one. I think we're going to send a message to Coach Kalen DeBoer. I think he's really going to be put on the hot seat after this season. Bama fans will not be happy with the 8-4 season. I truly think Ty Simpson is one of the worst quarterbacks in the SEC. You say, Michael, how could you say Ty Simpson's one of the worst quarterbacks in the SEC? You've never seen him play. Well, the little I did see him play for South Florida and against some other schools, he looked really bad.
More of that.
Not only after they tried to bench Jalen Milroe for South Florida, not only did they not put him in, they put in a guy who played college with lacrosse last season. They put him in over him and gave him a chance. They said, all right, we'll give Ty Simpson his drive. He comes in and just looks terrible. They take him out right away and put back in the lacrosse player, and Bama snuck out a win. Yeah, man. Bama does have a good wide receiver group. I don't think it's quite as good as Auburn's. I'll give Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams credit. When I say wide receiver group, I just mean just those two guys. I really don't think anyone else in the receiver room is that good. I think Isaiah Horton's pretty below average for SEC caliber. But I do like Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams. The running back room is just not the running back room that we grew up seeing at Alabama with Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram. It seemed like they had an NFL, Josh Jacobs, an NFL running back every single year. I don't see that with this team. I think Jen Miller is probably a middle-of-the-road SEC starter. They lost Justice Haynes, who was, in my opinion, the best running back last season. He transferred to Michigan. You look at the defense, they did bring a lot of guys back. But that sounds great, but do you really want to bring a lot of guys back who Diego Pavia, who we just talked about how bad he was, made the defense look like Swiss cheese? You look
like 47 points on him.
Even Auburn, we drove down the field almost every single time on him. We just couldn't get it in the end zone, and that was an Auburn thing. We had the lowest red zone percentage in all of the SEC last season. And so I think Alabama's going to be a good team, though. With all that being said, I don't have much good to say about any team. You can tell I've been pretty negative about every single team for the most part. But I do think they have a solid wide receiver group, a decent running back room. Now, I've said this. I think they have the best offensive line in the SEC and the best offensive line in college football. I'll say that. I really do like their offensive line. But unfortunately, you need more than just an offensive line to be good at football. It's an important position, but if you don't have a quarterback, who cares? So, yeah, give me Auburn. I'll go 8 out of 10 confidence. Auburn by the 10 to 13 range.
Yeah, I got Auburn by 10. A lot of the same reasons as you, so I won't beat a dead horse. Alabama's got a really good roster next year. If Ty Simpson could just go and be a middle-of-the-road SEC quarterback, they're probably making the playoff next year. The problem is with him, I'm not sure if that's what he's going to be. And I think while Keelan Russell's a good, freshman, we've seen time and time again that freshmen have struggled to elevate their team to playoff status. He's going to go in there and make mistakes and that kind of thing. And that's assuming he doesn't, leave the team. We saw with how fast he was speeding and got arrested for it. Or maybe not arrested, but got pulled over for speeding. He's probably going to be a Georgia Bulldog in the near future. But Alabama's going to be a complicated team. If Simpson could go and just kind of be like an A.J. McCarron or a Greg McElroy and just go make the smart, simple play, well, they might be 10-2, 11-1. They got a good roster. But Auburn has a pretty good roster, too. They're getting us at home. They're getting us in the Iron Bowl. Their last 2 wins at Auburn, they shouldn't have won. They were very fluky wins, partially influenced by the refs. And that's not going to happen this year. We're way better than we were in either of those games. We're going to win the Iron Bowl. And I think it's not even going to come down to the wire. I think we'll win it kind of handily, 10 or so points is what I believe. Auburn wins the Iron Bowl. So there you have it. Both of the members of the Auburn Anonymous crew have your Auburn Tigers going 11-1 this year.
Let's go. I'm glad we have it on.
Okay.
I'm glad we have it on record because when December
we're keeping
comes,
receipts. Y'all can come keep our receipts, but we're keeping receipts too.
Yeah, when December comes around, you're gonna hear all these people calling us bandwagons, calling us, these guys don't know nothing. What will they come up with next is always the thing with us. They always got something to say, and then we're right. And just like we were about our college basketball team, we came on here and started this podcast right before the season. Said this is a Final Four basketball team. Everyone made fun of us. We both gave our top fives for SEC basketball, and I had the exact
Auburn, Florida.
Yeah,
Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama. Yeah, we had it 100% to a T just about.
But they all made fun of us. So yeah, I think we're going to be right again on this one, and I'm looking forward to the season. My favorite part of the football season is when basketball season starts and you got them both going at the same time. But yeah, man. I think we're like 7 weeks away.
It's epic. Yep, we can't wait at all, and we're very excited to get back on a schedule. We're getting back on that weekly schedule grind, so you will be hearing from us way more often now that I've moved in. And also, it was kind of a dead period, so with that in mind, we are done with this one. So we appreciate everyone for tuning in. War Dam and AA knows.
AA knows.